You're in line at a grocery store during a storm warning. The shelves are thinner than usual. The air feels tense. The person ahead of you taps their card. Nothing. They tap again. The terminal spins. The cashier presses a few buttons and sighs. System's down. Cash only. The person freezes. They don't have cash. Their bank balance is fine. Their paycheck cleared yesterday. Their money exists. But in this moment, it might as well not. They leave their groceries behind and walk out. Scenes like this don't happen because money disappears. They happen because access disappears. Digital payments feel instant and automatic. Tap, approved, receipt. But what feels like a direct transfer is actually a coordinated request traveling through layers of invisible infrastructure. When you tap your card, you are not moving money. You are asking a network of systems for permission. That permission has to be verified, routed, authenticated, and confirmed in real time. And if any part of that chain fails, power, connectivity, processing, banking systems, the transaction fails. Cash doesn't ask permission. Cash doesn't check a server. Cash doesn't wait for confirmation. It moves from one hand to another, and the transaction is complete the moment it changes hands. Digital payments are faster under normal conditions, but they are structurally more fragile when those conditions change. And the more invisible the system becomes, the more surprising that fragility feels when it finally shows itself. To understand why, trace the path of a simple card tap. The payment terminal reads your card. That terminal requires electricity and a live connection to the store's point-of-sale system. The point-of-sale system sends your transaction to a payment processor, often through the internet or a financial network. The processor contacts your bank to verify that your account is valid, that you have sufficient balance, and that the transaction doesn't trigger fraud detection rules. Your bank responds with approval or denial. That response travels back through the processor to the terminal. All of this happens in 2 to 3 seconds. It feels effortless. But in those seconds, your transaction has touched multiple independent systems that must agree simultaneously. Electricity must be stable. Networks must be reachable. Servers must respond within strict time limits. Databases must return accurate balances. Fraud models must evaluate risk. Every one of those layers introduces a dependency, and dependencies multiply fragility. If the store loses internet, the terminal can't reach the processor. If the processor has an outage, millions of terminals across regions fail at once. If your bank slows down under heavy demand, approvals time out. The money in your account doesn't vanish. But the system that proves it exists becomes unreachable. Digital payments are not a single system. They are stacked systems. And the higher a system sits on the stack, the more it depends on everything below it working perfectly. The irony is that digital money feels like something you have, but technically it's something the system must constantly confirm on your behalf. Power is the foundation of that stack. On every component in the digital payment chain requires electricity. Terminals, routers, servers, data centers, fiber nodes, cellular towers. During blackouts, digital payments collapse quickly because their dependencies collapse. A store might have backup generators to keep the lights on, but if the internet provider's equipment loses power, connectivity fails. If the cell network loses tower capacity, mobile payments stop. Even when backup systems exist, they are finite. Batteries drain. Generators require fuel. Fuel requires supply chains, and those supply chains depend on power. Connectivity is the next layer. Digital payments require real-time communication between institutions. If network traffic spikes during emergencies, as people panic buy or repeatedly retry failed transactions, latency increases. Payment systems have strict response windows. If verification takes too long, the terminal declines the transaction. Not because the money isn't there, but because the response didn't arrive fast enough. And when one transaction fails, people try again and again. Each retry adds load. More load increases congestion. Congestion slows response times. Slower response times create more failures. A system designed for smooth throughput begins to spiral under stress. Software adds another layer of vulnerability. Code runs the databases that track balances. Code routes transactions. Code updates fraud models. Software updates introduce bugs. Authentication systems glitch. Databases desynchronize. When a major service provider experiences an outage or a flawed update, the effects cascade across retailers, banks, airlines, and consumers simultaneously. Cash does not rely on synchronization. It does not rely on software behaving correctly. It does not rely on coordinated uptime across multiple organizations. Cash is pre-settled. Digital money is continuously validated, and continuous validation is fragile under stress. This fragility is not accidental. It is the cost of efficiency. Digital payments are optimized for speed, scale, and convenience. They enable global commerce in seconds. They reduce fraud. They make online transactions possible. They are extraordinarily powerful systems. But that power comes from tight synchronization. Tight synchronization removes slack, and slack is what absorbs shocks. When modern payment systems are running smoothly, they feel like magic. When even one layer falters, they reveal how dependent they are on coordination. And cash, by contrast, is inefficient. It cannot be transmitted across continents instantly. It cannot be reversed easily. It does not integrate seamlessly with e-commerce. But it is resilient. It works in the dark. It works without networks. It works when servers crash. Modern societies have tilted heavily toward digital payments because the efficiency gains are enormous. Fewer people carry cash. Many businesses operate cashless. Under stable conditions, this works beautifully. But stability is an assumption, not a guarantee. When power fails, when networks congest, when software glitches, digital payments fail faster than cash because they sit at the top of a dependency hierarchy. They are the most advanced layer, and therefore the most sensitive. The money in your account may be intact, but your ability to prove it, verify it, and move it depends on invisible infrastructure functioning in perfect coordination. Digital payments do not fail because the money disappears. They fail because the system that confirms the money exists cannot respond. And in a world built on real-time verification, silence from the system is indistinguishable from denial. What feels like possession is really conditional access. What feels like control is really coordination. That is why the terminal goes dark before the money does, and why, in moments of disruption, the simplest form of payment often becomes the most reliable. Not because it is advanced, but because it is self-contained. And when systems shake, self-contained systems are the last to fall.